Trick or Treat by Bessie Chevalier. Terry hid his face behind his science book so no one would see him laugh. Everybody knew that if Terry chuckled when nobody else was laughing, somebody was about to get pranked. His current target was Mr. Mason, his teacher. Terry had put a rubber spider on Mr. Mason's chair and couldn't wait to see what happened when his teacher sat down. "Good morning, class," said Mr. Mason as he breezed into the room. "Let's get started, shall we?" he added, grabbing his science book. He pulled his chair out and got ready to sit. Unable to help himself, Terry let out a squeaky snicker. Mr. Mason froze. "Terry, is there something you need to tell me?" he asked. "No, Mr. Mason," Terry answered, but the huge smile on his face told the truth. Mr. Mason leaned over and looked at the seat of his chair. There, right in the middle, was a big black spider. Mr. Mason snatched up the rubber spider and walked over to Terry's desk. "Terry, your pranks are getting tiresome," Mr. Mason said sternly. The other students nodded in agreement. At first, Terry's pranks had been funny, but nobody could remember a day when he hadn't played a trick on someone in the class. "I need you to go sit in the hall for 10 minutes and think about how your victims feel about your pranks." Terry left the class and sat against the wall in the hallway. His smile was gone, but he didn't actually feel sorry. Mostly, he was disappointed that Mr. Mason had figured out his prank before he sat down. Terry had really wanted to see Mr. Mason's reaction. A few minutes later, the classroom door opened. "You can come back in now, Terry," said Mr. Mason. Terry hopped up and walked back to his desk. "All right, let's get back to business," Mr. Mason continued. "Did all of you remember to bring your permission slips for the field trip to the ice cream factory tomorrow?" Terry's eyes widened. Field trip? Ice cream factory? He didn't remember ever hearing about this. But all around him, his classmates were reaching into their desks and pulling out permission slips. "Mr. Mason, I don't have a permission slip," Terry wailed. He couldn't believe he was going to miss such a great trip. "How does it feel to be pranked, Terry?" teased Mr. Mason, grinning. Terry realized there was no field trip. He heaved a sigh of relief. "It felt awful, Mr. Mason," he answered. Suddenly, Terry realized that he was getting tired of his pranks, too.